Hey, welcome to Watch Complications. I'm Brian. Consider subscribing, hit the bell if you want updates. Links to my website and Instagram are in the description below, along with a timeline for video. If you have thoughts, questions, or feedback, write up a comment while you watch the video. Today we're going to be looking at the Rolex 277-200. This is the Oyster Perpetual 31mm with a turquoise aka Tiffany blue dial. It's a stunning ladies watch. Quick shout out to my AD and local salesperson Winkle, who handled the transaction and with honesty and came through with the watch. Not every AD provides clarity, process, status, timeline, those kind of things when you're purchasing a Rolex. She did, and it's been great getting to know you and the Periwinkles team, so thanks. I don't think I'll be putting this on my wrist today, just doesn't fit. I'm wearing my OP39, the dark rhodium, which I have done a review on before, and I'll be doing a very short follow-up video after this one talking about couple combos for watches. And in the previous video when I discussed my OP39 dark rhodium, I suggested it would probably be the only Rolex that I would buy because it's one of the few designs I really like. That's because I'm not really a big fan of the Cyclops, Dated 3, the Mercedes hand, which rules out a lot of Rolex models. I could maybe tolerate the dark rhodium Yachtmaster. I do like the Daytona, better dial symmetry and no date, but I don't know if that'll ever happen for me. I suppose it could, and my AD seems to think there's hope. And I know I was a little harsh on Rolex and AD practices in that past video. And I know that there are issues with demand and the gray market. I mean, it's everywhere, right? On social media and whatnot, which is beyond crazy at this point, the gray market. And yes, some ADs have shady practices and some are part of the problem. But I should be clear that good ADs exist as well. And I'll say more about that in a little bit regarding this watch and my recommendations on how to interact with good ADs. Anyway, even though I said that, I got another Rolex, but it wasn't for me. It was for my wife, who after the pandemic hit the States in March of 2020, started her own successful video conferencing company called InSpace, which is predominantly education focused, but also suits business context. And even though she has a couple watches, including one that I made her, she wanted to reward herself. I wanted to give her something. So I showed the options and turquoise was the instant choice. It'll be nice to wear to events and meetings, and it's already picked up some nice worn character in that endeavor, as you'll see. Real short side story. When we went to pick up the watch, the AD treated us and our young kids really well, which was really sweet. But I got to try on a Daytona, a sort of unicorn model, the yellow gold green dial Daytona. Very cool watch. Personally, I much prefer the white dial, but it was cool to see such a rare model that I may very well never see again. So that was fun. But enough chit chat, let's get familiar with the simple but significant OP31. So as much as I would love to show more of my OP39 in this video, I want to spend the time focused on the OP31. There will be a follow-up video where I discuss these models as one of the best combos for a couple. But for now, let's focus on this beautiful ladies watch. I've reviewed a low-cost ladies watch before, and I felt like this was another good opportunity to explore this part of the market. Whether you're a woman looking to reward yourself or a significant other looking for an impressive gift, hopefully the video will provide details you're after. It does take time to get these, so you have to think ahead. Yes, it can take time to get a Rolex, especially if it's your first one. Find a helpful local authorized dealer, AD, and go in person. Don't just call on the phone. Be authentic, be yourself. There are plenty of shady ADs out there, but many ADs are just trying to get watches onto the wrists of people that really want them. And good ADs do their best to tease out the flippers, such as my local AD. My wait for this watch was 4 months. Perfectly reasonable if you ask me, especially considering the color choice. I've waited much longer for things on Kickstarter, for example, but if money's no object, then sure, you can go gray market, but I highly recommend not doing that. Plan, be patient, and it can happen. Interestingly, the turquoise dial, affectionately known as Tiffany blue, this beautiful powder blue look seems to be the most sought after on the secondary market, as it's commanding the highest price. This series comes in a variety of colors like champagne, pink, coral red, and so on, which are all currently reselling over retail, but the turquoise is going for 2 to 3 times retail. Currently, this model in the $10,000 to $15,000 range when retail is $5,200. Moral of the story, take your time, talk with an AD, and don't contribute to the madness of the Rolex gray market. Rolex is an okay brand as far as I'm concerned. They've got some excellent engineering under the hood. A lot of their success is that of marketing, and as I mentioned in the intro, I personally don't like most of the designs. I'm just not a Cyclops person. I am okay with the date on a watch, but I prefer it at 6 or 12 instead of 3. So my favorite Rolex designs are the OP and the Daytona because of no date and no Cyclops. This elegant time-only Oyster Perpetual is a simple and effective timepiece and statement. The reference is 277-200. In the smaller sizes, Rolex is currently making diameters of 28, 31, and 34 millimeter. The Turquoise is only offered in the 31 millimeter size at this time, along with the larger 41 millimeter. Overall height from top of crystal to case back is 10.65 millimeter. Lug to lug, so from lug tip to lug tip, 36.6 millimeter. Lug width, 16 millimeter. And the overall weight is 83.32 grams. I use my own calipers and scale for those dimensions. You might get just slight variation from watch to watch. Case is Oyster steel, so 904L stainless steel, which has a nice sheen polish to it, but does pick up scratches a little bit easier than 316L stainless steel. This one has started to get some character, as we like to call it, through some basic wear. But I love seeing that kind of stuff on a watch bracelet. It just shows that this is being worn and not sitting on a shelf or in a safe somewhere, but it's serving its purpose in telling time for a person and helping them get through their day. Now 904 might not be hard as 316 still, but it has better corrosion resistant properties, which Rolex is known for. Of course, we have a sapphire crystal. Crown is screw down with twin lock for added water resistance, which is 10 ATM, 100 meters, about 330 feet. So nice secure crown. The movement is the fairly new 2232 caliber, time only with hacking, so the second hand stops when you pull the crown out to time setting. This 2232 is an automatic, which Rolex calls perpetual movement, with Rolex's standard superlative rating of plus or minus 2 seconds a day after casing. This 2232 caliber has the Siloxy hairspring, which is Rolex's silicone-based hairspring, which has been in production since about 2014 and has predominantly been used on the ladies models, along with the Everose Yachtmaster, which uses caliber 2236. I'll talk about the differences in the hairsprings of the 2232 and the 3132 caliber in my OP, 39mm in the follow-up video. Beat rate is a typical 28,800 oscillations, so 4 Hz frequency. Has 31 joules and 55 hours of power reserve, which is impressive and worth noting given the size of the movement. The bracelet, also 904L Oyster steel, has the satin finish traditional of the OP line with the Oyster clasp and extension link, which gives you about 5 millimeters of micro adjust, though you do have to use a spring bar tool to adjust the clasp. The hour and minute hands along with the hour markers are loomed, which doesn't charge as quickly or last as long as other options out there, but let's be honest, that's not a significant concern with this watch. Rolex has a 5-year warranty, which is more than a lot of companies, though other high-end brands have been extending warranty times. And of course, one of my favorite brands, Christopher Ward, also offers a 5-year warranty. Retail on the 31mm OP is $5,200. Don't overpay for this watch. What are the things that I like about this watch? Well, simple, time only. I like various complications and more varied designs when implemented tastefully, but it's hard to beat a time-only watch, and every enthusiast should have one. Impressive power reserve with this 2232 caliber. Excellent proportions. I really like the 31mm size. It's an understated statement, if that makes sense. The color is just amazing. Certainly my favorite of the offerings. It pops so much, even in all kinds of light, just excellent visibility. I like the reflective dial surface, and markers look great as the seconds hand sweeps across the dial. And I really dig the satin finish on the Oyster bracelet, one of my favorite aspects of the OP line. I enjoyed on my 39mm. Yeah, that steel's a little softer, picks up some scratches. You can see those there, but that just says it's being loved and worn by the owner. This suits a variety of occasions. Yeah, it leans toward the dress style, but it works in a casual setting just as well. I wear mine with jeans, khakis, etc.,
and it holds up with a suit. Same situation here. It works both dressed up and dressed down. Also, for a lady, just like with my OP, it can be your one Rolex. It meets any need. So if you want to just get one, you're not maybe super into watches, but you appreciate the art, you appreciate a fine quality timepiece, and you're wanting one watch, an Oyster Perpetual can be your one Rolex. And so consider that. The cost is reasonable. Yes, it has increasing value. That Rolex bubble may burst at some point. The general watch world has a bubble that may burst at some point, but you aren't going to lose money on a Rolex, and you're likely to make money if you were to sell. So excellent value retention, always a pro, but I don't see this one ever getting sold. The plan would be to pass it on to our daughter. So is there anything to dislike about this watch? Well, you really can't complain about it much, to be honest. Just minor things as far as a holistic watch is concerned. Softer steel does scratch easier, but with the bracelet being satin, it's easy to take back to looking like new every so often. Wait time is what it is right now, but what I would tell someone is it's worth the wait. Just be patient. Lume is so-so, but that's sort of typical for the OP. I mean, it's not a dive watch after all. The Oyster clasp does require the tool to micro adjust, so most people wearing this kind of watch probably don't have the tool or aren't going to take the time or want to mess with it, so they'll have to take it in if they need some adjustment done to the bracelet. So sure, there's things that they could improve, like wait time, lume, easier micro adjustment, but nothing's going to be a deal breaker. It's an all-around amazing watch.
Well, thanks for spending some time looking at this beautiful turquoise OP31 with me. Hopefully you got something out of it, whether that's just learning specification details, getting a more accurate visual sense of what this watch looks like if you're considering it for yourself or for someone else, or just what to expect from or how to interact with Rolex authorized dealers. Consider subscribing, hit the bell if you want updates. Links to my website and Insta are in the description below, and leave comments and we can chat more. Thanks for watching. I'm out.